Welcome. Good morning.
I want to thank the chairman and the ranking member. I want to thank each of you for what you do for our country. You have very important positions in keeping us safe. Director Comey, I want to ask you about the attacks on our consulate in Benghazi over a year ago on September 11th. I guess the question that I have most of all that you and I have talked about in the past when we met, why hasn't anyone been brought to justice? We're in a position now where I've seen public reports of individuals like Ahmed Abu Khattala, who's associated with Ansar al-Sharia. The reports have been that he's been indicted in New York with others that haven't been named, and yet no one has been brought to justice. Can you tell us why?
Thank you, Senator. If charges are brought in a case and they're under seal, it's not something that I could talk about. What I can tell you is this is among the FBI's very highest priorities. I have a lot of people working very, very hard on it. We are committed to bringing to justice those responsible for the attack and the murder of our folks. These are often difficult cases to make, but as you've seen, I think you've seen in our work, we never give up. And we will never rest until we bring to justice the people responsible. The challenge for me is I have twin goals. I want to bring them to justice successfully, and I want to make sure that any witnesses I have stay cooperative with us, and that the bad guys don't know what I might know or what I might be doing, and so I'm limited in what I can say in an open forum.
Well, one thing that struck me is on October 5th, there was the successful raid into Libya to capture al-Libi, which I congratulate all of the FBI and everyone who worked, obviously our military and intelligence agencies on that capture. And it just led me to raise, of course, in my own mind, when we went into Libya on October 5th, if there are individuals that need to be captured, why we wouldn't capture them as well. And I know that may not be something you can answer in an open setting, but people are frustrated that these people have been not been brought to justice. So I do want your commitment that they will be brought to justice.
You have it. I think the al-Libi case, I hope, illustrates for the American people that what I said before, we will never stop, and we will never give up. He's been wanted, as you know, for well over a decade, and so the work will continue.
Well, let me ask you, are you getting cooperation from Libya on this issue of capturing and seeing that those who committed the attacks on our consulate are brought to justice?
I don't want to talk in particular about particular operations or particular conversations, but I think as we've said publicly, the Libyan government has been cooperative with us in this investigation.
Well, we expect them to be cooperative with everything, obviously, we've done and the support we've given them. And let me ask you, in terms of the al-Libi capture on October 5th, as I understand it, he was captured on October 5th, placed on a ship, and then was interrogated for, this is according to all public information, now he's been publicly indicted, till the 12th in which he was brought into civilian custody. Is that right?
I think that, I don't know the exact dates, but the
So it's about a week of interrogation.
General contours sound like, sound right.
So Mr. Beers identified the beginning of al-Qaeda as the attacks on our embassies in Africa, and of course al-Libi has been charged with those attacks on our consulate. He was a very major capture, was he not, of al-Qaeda?
He's alleged to be one of the founding fathers of al-Qaeda.
That's right. So yesterday we had the nominee for to take over as for Mr. Beers, Jay Johnson, and he described interrogation as a treasure trove, as an opportunity, of course, for us to gather information and protect our country. You would agree with that, wouldn't you, Director Comey?
Yes.
Was 7 days enough, long enough interrogation in your view, to find out everything that al-Libi knew about al-Qaeda and its operations?
I don't want to comment on the particular case. Longer is always better. More is always better. Interrogation, I agree with Jay Johnson, interrogation is a critical tool and is often a treasure trove.
So here's our conundrum. Here's the problem we face. Let's take it out of al-Libi for a moment. He was put on the ship instead of being brought to Guantanamo because obviously this has been policy, political decision of the administration of not wanting to put anyone in Guantanamo. But is it practical that we can put everyone on ships of his nature?
That's a hard question for me to answer.
Well, I guess the question I have is, tomorrow, let's say we get Zawahiri. Let's say we get the current titular head, Amin al-Zawahiri, tomorrow. Where do we put him? You need to interrogate him, not only you, but our intelligence officials, to protect our country. What do we do with him? I would hope that we're not going to only interrogate him for a week. So do you know what we do with him? Where we detain him? How he's treated?
I don't in particular. I'm aware of a variety of options. My goal would be just what you said, to have our agents and our intelligence community colleagues have the opportunity to interrogate him to get that information.
Do you think he should be Mirandized?
Who are you asking about? I'm sorry?
Zawahiri. If we get Zawahiri tomorrow, when we capture him, do you believe that he should be read his Miranda rights?
Well, I, as my predecessor did, believe that the more flexibility we have to delay the reading of those rights, the better. But again, the reason I'm hesitating is it would depend upon where he is and whether a court case pending against him and all those kinds of things. But sure, more flexibility, better for us.
And that is because obviously you capture a known terrorist, someone who's the head of al-Qaeda, you tell them he has the right to remain silent, that obviously could have the potential to interfere with your interrogation. Is that right?
Sure, would end the interrogation. And in situations like that, it's not that I'm looking for confessions to be able to use in a court.
No, you're looking for
trying to get
information
intelligence
to protect the country, right?
Exactly.
And that's different than gathering. Certainly, they can be committed and together, but the priority has to be in gathering information to protect the country. Is that right?
Sure, and that's the way we approach it.
Well, the one thing I will just say is that I worry about the Zawahiri situation, because right now the administration has chosen not to use Guantanamo. The administration is putting people on ships, but al-Libi, to only interrogate someone like that for 7 days, it seems to me that we're losing opportunities to gather intelligence. And I hope that, Director Comey, you're new to this position, that we can work on a policy for detention and interrogation that will allow you to fully interrogate the worst terrorists that continue to pose threats for our country. So I thank you all for what you're doing.
Thank you, Senator.